Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Eddie Mata Show. Today's guest, let me explain something to you about this guy. Can you imagine? I'm gonna paint the picture right now. Can you imagine waking up on a Sunday morning of Oscars day and night? You know, you got a job assignment. You go to the Oscars, interview A-list stars, and then after the Oscars, you interview those stars again, and then the next day you wake up and you're talking about sports in the sports studio. Please welcome Ben Lyons, the dream job that every man and woman that's into sports dreams to have your job. Welcome to the show, man.
Wow, what an intro. Yeah, I kind of worked it out for myself, dude. It's great to see you on your latest multimedia endeavor, man. It's a real pleasure. Thanks for that intro, bro.
Well, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for agreeing and, being there for me, just like I want to be there for you since we know each other, what, the past 10 years now?
Well, I was thinking about that this morning when I saw I was doing this today, and I was like, wow, how did I first meet Eddie? When did I first meet him? And it's got to be up on 10 plus years now, almost 15 probably. And I remember you won some red carpet challenge on the E channel, and
Yeah.
your enthusiasm was infectious, and you did a hit from the Emmys or something with Debbie, and I was working at E at the time, and I was like, that guy rocks. And then you were just like one of those dudes who you're just around, bro. Like once I met you, I would just see you and hang out with you, and we become friends and talk sports and movies, and it's been awesome to see you do your thing. So yeah, thank you for having me again.
Well, thank you. So, Ben, let's turn back the clock a little bit, man, because your job is unbelievable. I mean, you're in both sides of two worlds. You got Hollywood and you got sports. That's like that's a dream.
And those worlds are getting more and more connected in so many different ways, right? I say it often that like the biggest movie star in LA right now feels like LeBron James. Like
Right.
it's amazing too at the Academy Awards. You're always seeing films like Icarus and Free Solo and OJ getting nominated and winning for Best Documentary. And yeah, it's a great time for sports cinema. So the intersection of the two is where I really like to play right now.
You know, Ben, here's the thing. Like, what I'm really impressed, you have a background. Your father was a movie critic. Your grandfather
Still
still
is.
is.
My daddy saw Cats and Star Wars in the same day this year. Back at the end of 2019. So he's fired up for that Pete Davidson movie. Like he's still grinding, still
Oh,
seeing movies.
and then your grandfather was a big leaguer right here for the New York Post, right? Uh,
Yeah, my grandfather, Leonard Lyons, wrote for the New York Post. He had his own column 6 days a week for 40 years. He rented a typewriter. And here you and I are now on this live, platform, and we're talking on our cell phones. He rented a typewriter covering nightlife in New York for many, many years. So it's third generation of what I like to say, touching the culture, documenting the culture, supporting it, being around it, contributing it to it. But yeah, it's pretty wild when I think back to just how long our family's been doing this.
and Ben, when you were a kid, I mean, this is a great story. I mean, your father is really connected with the Boston Red Sox, and actually, you were like 10 years old, and you have all access. You're hanging out in the dugout with these Boston Red Sox. I mean, but you're a New Yorker. That's the thing I don't understand, man. How does a New Yorker is all of a sudden a Boston Red Sox fan? Is it because of your father?
Well, that's my dad's deal. He is such a Red Sox fan, Eddie, as you know. It's going to say cause of death, Boston Red Sox. That photo was actually taken in Boston on a trip to see the Red Sox back in like 1988. As you can see, I was Jordaned out back then. But yeah, I remember, my dad leaving my high school graduation early because Pedro was pitching. He quotes a French philosopher who says, "The heart has reason that reason itself knows nothing about." He has this higher calling. It's going to say cause of death Boston Red Sox on his tombstone. Like it's just like a thing for him. It's become a big part of our family's identity. So while I'm not really a Red Sox fan myself, I root for the Dodgers since I've been living here in LA 15 years. And the fact that my dad, after the World Series 2 years ago, had the audacity to say to me, "Well, we should have swept." I can't believe he's become that entitled. But I called to congratulate him. But yeah, man, I'll always, look at the Red Sox and think of my father, or turn on a game and think of our summers listening to Joe and on the radio. His best friend is a Red Sox radio announcer. So it's become a huge part of our life. But yes, definitely remember uniformed police officers as a child giving my father the finger, or having subway cars going to the Bronx chanting "Lyons sucks, Lyons sucks." Like, those are memories that are forever ingrained in my soul. And I think it's the reason why I connect so passionately to both sports and film, is from palling around with him for all those years.
And in 1986, he literally he almost had a heart attack. I'm just being, you know.
No, I remember him passed out in the shower. It's
Yeah.
a true story. You did your homework. We were down at Disney World, and he swears to this day that in some Orlando Marriott, there's 27 action figures, sitting there, and one is still standing up, the Buckner one.
Yeah.
He was knocking off my action figures watching the game, and he passed out in the shower. My mother found him like asleep. That game was so traumatic for him.
Well, when it goes through your legs like that, it's questionable if he would have get there before Mookie would get to first.
Yeah, I thought after Aaron Boone, it was never going to happen for him. I really, really kind of came to that conclusion. The fact now he's seen 4 of them, for me as a Knicks fan, provides nothing but hope and optimism that I still have a lifetime of great basketball in front of me, even though it seems like I'm watching a junior varsity team every night.
Well, we're going to talk about the Knicks later. Trust me. I know. And you're
Do we have to, Eddie?
Well, yeah. Oh, yes, yeah. You know why? Because I want to show how loyal you are to that team, even though they're struggling every year the past 7 years. I mean, it's just not going anywhere. But anyway, so now, what made you become a Randall Cunningham football fan, and then you love your Eagles? Where'd that come from?
I love that you did your homework. Well, I think,
course,
again, it was seeing my dad being the out-of-town sports fan in New York. I thought that was the cool thing to do. And so I adopted the Eagles at a young age when I fell in love with Randall, because he was so different and explosive. And I remember there was a year they were on Monday Night Football early in the season versus the Cowboys, and both teams were undefeated. And it was one of those first games I got to stay up at night and watch. And I think Randall went on the road in Dallas and won. And I love the jackets and the whole vibe. And again, to just be that dude who's going to beef with your friends because you like the out of town team. That was my dad's thing. So I took that on, and I was a diehard Eagle fan about 25, 30 years of my life. I mean, I went to the last game at the Vet when Joe Jaravicius had 2 touchdowns. Wow. I sat through Andy Reid's bad play calling at the end of the Super Bowl with Donovan. And, I just, the Terrell, the super team, the dream team with Vince Young, that was terrible. I was a big Eagles fan. And I went to a game in about 2016, 17 maybe. And honestly, Eddie, it was terrifying. The parking lot was like Mad Max. It was a Monday night game versus the Giants. There was women throwing beer at other women. I saw people barfing. It was just violent and terrifying, And I was like, I think I'm done with this. My wife teaches meditation. She's got crystal shoes. She's writing a book for women on crystal healing. I'm at a different place in my life. And so I kind of I shunned the Eagles. I'm done. I said, I threw in the towel. That's it. It's a wrap. I didn't like the way they treated Andy Reid, and they ran him out of town. And our station in LA, ESPN, got the Rams. And I said, all right, I'm going to buy in on these Rams. I went out to the woods up in Topanga, which is this area up by Malibu in the woods. And I went up there and had a ceremony and said goodbye and a seance and howled at the moon and buried all my Eagles. It was a time in my life that's done. And sure enough, 2 years later, the Eagles win the Super Bowl, right? So everyone's hitting me up who knows me, and it's like, ha, you're not an Eagles fan anymore. Some people who don't know me as well are hitting me up like, congrats, bro. And I'm like, no. I'm done with this. And I felt awful. I was like, I can't believe I bailed. What have I done? I can't take credit for this. But then I saw the video of the Eagles fan eating horse manure in the street the night of they won the Super Bowl. And it reminded me, those are not my people. That is not a time in my life that I want to connect with anymore. So I'm a Rams fan. We lost in the Super Bowl, which I think is the best thing that could have happened to the Rams fans out here, so they understand how hard it is to get back there and how much that means. And I'm curious to see what they do. But it's going to be fun to see the new stadium and to hopefully have kids one day and introduce them to football here in Los Angeles. But yeah, man, dark days in Philadelphia. It was some tough years. It was a wild part of my life.
Oh, man. And
crazy story, I know.
No, it's a great story. But Ben, how in the world? I went to high school in New York City, in Brooklyn, all right? how in the world you play baseball for your high school team, and every year you guys go to Arizona to train?
Yeah, we were
What high
very
school is
lucky.
this, man?
Very, very lucky, Eddie. I went to a great school called Collegiate. We're actually having our 20th reunion for our class on Friday, which is going to be amazing. But yeah, our team, we'd save up money. We'd hold fundraisers and stuff. Obviously, our parents would help us out, but we stayed at a motel in Tempe, Arizona, the Inn Suites by the Arizona Mills Mall. And we'd play, baseball all morning and double headers and other teams from around the country. I went out there 4 years in a row in high school. And honestly, it's some of the most fun memories I have looking back in my life and falling in love with sports and baseball and video games with my buddies. This is where I learned how to play golf. I play golf with the coaches in the afternoons and stuff. And golf's a huge part of my life and career now. So those years in Arizona, because we didn't have fields, Eddie. We played on 108th and Riverside. We played a lot of away games. We had batting cages in our basketball gyms. Baseball in New York City, you get some dicey weather. So that photo right there was taken to me on a golf course here in LA in February. So I didn't have that growing up. So we had to get out to the West Coast to be able to play sports sometimes as a kid. And pretty lucky when I look back on it. I'm not going to lie.
No, you are lucky. I mean, how many kids could say that? Okay, so in high school, did you always wanted to be a journalist, host, producing and stuff like that? I mean, what were your thoughts? Because in high school, we don't know what we want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember the feeling I had at an early age when I would go with my dad to a big movie, a buzzed about movie, and then I would go with him to the station, whether he was at Channel 11 at the time or NBC, where he worked for a number of years, and go with him to interview that star and see the questions that we had talked about, leaving the screening come to life in the interview. So those memories stayed with me. I remember seeing Saving Private Ryan and then talking to Ed Burns the next day at some softball game about the film, and I enjoyed that memory. But it wasn't until I was in high school when I really, my bad, bro.
It's all right.
It wasn't until high school when I really started to think about it as a career. My senior year, I had a senior project at my school. I threw a hip hop appreciation conference. I'm a huge hip hop nerd, and I got Smith & Wesson, the Cocoa Brothers from Duck Down Records to come, and Elliot Wilson, the editor-in-chief of XXL. He came and spoke, and that really opened me up to, I can get into my passion as a profession. I worked for Duck Down Records for a number of years. That led me to producing segments of a syndicated music show called Hip Hop Nation. I then would host segments for that show, which led me to putting a hosting reel together. I got on MTV, produced videos for Bone Thugs and Harmony, and I was off to the races. Moved to LA and got on NBC and the E! Channel and met Eddie Mata, and here I am now doing an interview at 2 p.m. during quarantine. So,
of course,
every door leads to the next. But yeah, I just remember that feeling growing up as a kid and that access of being a real fan, reading about a movie for years, finally getting to see it, and then working with my dad on this research and the questions and going to actually ask the people who made it how they did it. That pure feeling I still have today, which lets me know I'm still doing the right thing.
I love that about you. We'll get to that. Okay, so then, your dad went to Lee Strasberg Institute right here in New York City.
Look at you with the Google working.
Well, of course, I got to do my research. But here's the thing. When you graduated or, during your senior year, did your dad say, hey, which school do you want to go to? Because I know you picked University of Michigan, but did he tell you, hey, why don't you go to Lee Strasberg? Did he give you any suggestions?
Now, the one thing I can say looking back that I so appreciate from my childhood is my parents really afforded me the opportunity to pursue what I was passionate about, and whether that was DJing at a time or playing basketball or eventually covering film and moving to Los Angeles to make films. Like, they have just always provided me with the structure in my life I need to be able to go after those dreams. And that's really cool. And I know everyone doesn't have that opportunity. And that's not just, hey, here's a check, go figure it out. Right. It's being there as a friend, a confidant, a parent, a mentor. So many ways they showed support over the years, holding me accountable. When it came to school, I applied to 9 schools. I got into 8. I didn't get into University of Virginia. I don't know why that was my number one choice at the time. I really was into the idea of going to UVA, but as fate would have it, I went to Michigan. I'm really grateful that I did. I met some great people there that I'm still friends with who live. That's probably the reason I'm out in LA. And that's the night they went to the Sweet 16 a couple of years back in the NCAA tournament, the Jordan Poole night, I think, when he hit that shot.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Splash nephew. And it's been great to see the resurgence of Michigan basketball, by the way. But yeah, so Michigan's a big part of my life, and And even though I didn't get a chance to finish, I have some great relationships and a great connection to university in that part of the country. So, yeah, every door and opportunity leads to the next. But my dad never really put the pressure on me to go one way or the other. He just wanted me to continue to be myself and have fun.
And your major, was it communication, journalism? What was
No, I was an English major and I was a film major, and I took a lot of upper level classes in my sophomore year and studied everything from, you know, English literature to film and to Robert Altman and Pokemon and a Japanese anime class, and I took TV of the '80s, and I took all types of weird classes about culture. And but I felt like my real education came from growing up in New York. Like I said, that school I went to, collegiate, I think the greatest school in the world, and really opened me up to different perspectives and ways of thinking that stay with me today. So yeah, my real education came from just growing up in the city, playing sports in the city.
now, Ben? You grew up
And
Upper West Side. You know my favorite.
Midtown West. Don't get it twisted, Eddie.
All right, my bad. All right, Midtown West. But there's a place called Levain Bakery that I love those cookies, man. It's like my mouth has the best sex with those cookies. I mean, oh my God. I know you're familiar with those cookies, are you?
I do know those cookies. And I think of food on the Upper West, some of the great pizza joints like Big Nick's in Newtown was where we used to hang out when we were kids, and La Caridad, which they did a Seinfeld episode on, which is a Cuban Chinese food, communism cuisine. That's like one of my favorite places. We don't have that out here in LA.
So Ben, let's talk about you being a movie critic. What is the preparation when they tell you, Ben, you have an assignment with an A-list star? Tell me your preparation. How many days do you have in advance to really prepare? Because when I say you got to prepare, you got to know director, writer, actor, other films they played in. I mean, this is big league stuff. You cannot miss a moment with this, right?
Well, I think what's important is that the setting of the interview plays a big role in it. So if I'm on set in the TV studio and I know I have half an hour with somebody and there's no studio audience, it's going to be a different type of energy than if I'm live at a movie premiere and there's thousands of people screaming and I only get 3 questions. So oftentimes I've found throughout my career, I've had some bosses or producers who don't quite understand that, and that you can't necessarily have an intimate, thought-provoking, intensely personal conversation when you have 2 questions with flashbulbs and it's loud. And sometimes you don't even know you're going to interview that person that night. You're at the Academy Awards. Who might show up? It's a surprise. It's a secret. Some people are going to talk. Some people aren't going to talk. You don't really know. So you kind of just are always preparing. I'm constantly reading the trades. I'm constantly reading articles. I'm constantly reading and watching everything I can to feel as well prepared as I can. But then a lot of it just goes out the window and you react in the moment. Now, my favorite is when I know, like, okay, I'm going to a film festival and I'm going to have 25 minutes with Sienna Miller and I've got, a week or 2 weeks to prepare. Then I can really start to dig into her entire career and previous work. And I love those types of interviews. But yeah, when it's on the fly and on the go, that's just where your everyday knowledge has to kick in.
Well, Ben, have you ever gone to a house, to a A-list house, and did interviews there, and you felt like you were at the Four Seasons?
Yeah, I mean, I've done interviews in the weirdest places, bro. Like when I think about I've interviewed Rihanna in Israel. I interviewed Keanu in Japan. I've interviewed, I don't know. I've done TV and on big, classic TV sets like with Diane Sawyer and Barbara Walters and SportsCenter, and I've also gotten to be at Comic-Con in the NBA Finals in Sundance. Like I'm very, very lucky in the field that, again, the setting can really play into it. When you interview J-Lo on a balcony in Vegas with 2,000 people at the Rio, it's like, that's like a different energy than when you sit down with her in a hotel room for 20 minutes or, yeah. So
about the environment, and I get it.
Yeah, I've had some funny adventures, man. I should write a book one day just called like Waiting Around for Celebrities in Hotel Rooms.
Right, exactly.
That's literally like the story of my life.
Ben, but has it ever happened when you're a film critic and you have to be honest and it's your opinion, but you did a mediocre review on a film and then you see the celebrity on the red carpet, they're like, Ben, I like
It's happened. It's happened. I remember Idris called me out for something once. He didn't like a review of mine, but like I said to him at the time, the check cleared, didn't it? He's like, yeah, check had
Okay.
a lot. Check had a lot of zeros on it too. I said, all right, good. Because that takes me back to a Michael Caine story. The great Michael Caine was Sir Michael Caine was in one of the sequels to Jaws, and they said, "Why are you in this movie? You're this great actor. You're Sir Michael Caine." He goes, I haven't seen the film, so I can't speak on if it's good or bad. But have you seen the house that I bought from doing the movie? It's pretty nice. So,
Oh,
for
okay. All right.
everybody's got a different agenda. And if you're honest, I think they respect you more for it at the end of the day. If it can be a little tough to swallow in the moment, because the last thing any big artist or celebrity needs is another person in their life being like, "You're amazing, you're amazing. I thought it was great." It doesn't do anything to push their craft forward. So if they're truly an artist and someone who's comfortable in their own skin, they'll understand if you have a real point of view or take on their material.
And I mean, you met so many A-listers. I mean, you got Ron Howard there.
Yeah, it's over on the set of Rush.
Yeah,
I was in London for that.
yeah, and it's like, what was that like, man? What was a classic story that you always remembered from this set?
Well, that one was so cool because it's a small film at its core with a big story, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's an intimate character story of Niki Lauda, played by Daniel Bruhl, and Chris Hemsworth, who are these dueling race car drivers trying to one up each other. But those photos will show you it wasn't a giant, crazy set with thousands of extras. It was very kind of intimate, and Howard kept it a small movie. And I got to interview actually the real Niki Lauda. He recently passed away, but I remember speaking with him in Toronto. And yeah, when you get to meet the real life people who inspire these stories, those are the things that really stand out. It's pretty cool.
Now listen, you had this show. I don't know if it's still on. Real Fan with Ben Lyons. I love that show. I'll tell you why. Because this is
The Real Fan Life. Yeah, you're a fan.
yeah,
Somebody besides
real
my mother
fan
watched.
life.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because I love getting to know athletes and celebrities about not just their acting side, not just their athletic side, but what do they like as hobbies? What's it like being inside their home? Now, this crazy guy, Dwight Howard, how did you hang out with those exotic snakes?
Yeah, it was wild, man. We were down at Dwight's house. He was with the Rockets at the time, and Dwight has like 10 or 12 snakes.
What?
And he had them all out on him in the interview, and it was a rainy day in Houston. It was like a big storm had come through, so it was very ominous. And I just remember the whole thing being super weird and just racing out of there to make a flight. I've gotten to know him a little bit since he's come to Los Angeles, and it's awesome to see him in the place that he's in. He was playing great before the season stopped. But I was like, at that time, I remember being super freaked out in his house. Like, just not. I mean, there's snakes, giant boa constrictors, and he's the one who's in charge of it all, which is just doesn't seem right. So
And they're just hanging out. And they're just hanging out in his house.
Yeah, in the house, climbing on the fixtures. He bring out his boa constrictor around his arms, and I'm a city kid, man. Like, I'm like you. I grew up in Middle Manhattan. Like, the only wildlife I know is a rat on the D train. So
Exactly.
I'm not trying to like be anywhere near Dwight Howard snakes in the middle of Houston somewhere.
And what's great is look at the transition. Hollywood, athletes. Hollywood, athletes. That's your lifestyle, and I love it. Now, tell me about my man right here. How did you get that gig? How'd you get that gig? I want to know that.
The captain. So around 2014 in October, I got a call from some folks who were putting together this company called the Players Tribune, and Derek was obviously at the center of it and the face of it, and also instrumental behind the scenes. And in 2015, we launched. I was the chief correspondent. I got a chance to host a radio show for Sirius XM and really work with the Tribune to help them become what we like to call agency agnostic at the time, because the company was incubated by Derek's agency Excel. It had a stigma in the business of only being for Excel clients, but we were able to break through a lot of barriers and get athletes from Rock Nation and CAA and all the different, Wasserman and different agencies to contribute and tell their stories. And I got a chance to work with him and see him in action. And I'll never forget, that was at the ESPYs when he was honored for, humanitarian or lifetime achievement. I remember the year he got a big ESPYs tribute. But I remember the night of the Tribune launch in New York a few months before that, and I was live on Sirius XM with him, and my dad came up unfiltered. Derek had no idea who my father was at the time. He was just getting to know me. And my dad just interrupted the interview with his Red Sox watch, hat, cell phone on his clip. And Derek just went, security, security, get this guy out of here. Every time my dad would see him at any Tribune party, wear his tie, Derek's always like, get him out of here, get him out of here. But had that gift of understanding that his presence was a present to a lot of people, right? Where you'd be at a Tribune meeting or a party and he's talking to the interns and the photographers and the digital marketing team, just like he's, rubbing shoulders with the CEOs and the in front of the camera people. So I did enjoy my time getting to work with him for a few years, for sure.
Is he a good golfer? Because Ben, I know you're involved with golf too right now, but you've been involved with a lot of golf charities with all these celebrities and athletes, and it's like he admits that he sucks in golfing. That's what he told him.
No. Here's the thing with Derek as a golfer, and this I've noticed with a lot of professional athletes. He didn't have time in the summers to play golf. He had to play the Cleveland Indians for a 4-game set, or he had to play the Kansas City Royals, right? So now he's retired. He goes, let me pick up this golf club. And in 6 months, he's down to like a 7 handicap. And then he's like a 3. And you're like, dude, I've been playing for 15 years, grinding it, studying, going to camps, reading books. I remember at that same tournament where that photo was, I played with Miles Austin, who's like, yeah, I've been playing for 6 months. And he was hitting it 320 off the tee. And you're like, dude, like to be a professional athlete, because they have a mentality that you and I mean, you have it. I struggle with it. And I see it with Derek and his golf game is they go and play, but then it's 2 hours at the range. And then it's 2 hours at the putting green. I see it with James Worthy here in LA. We'll play 6:30 in the morning, 11 o'clock. We go about our day. James goes to the driving range for an hour and a half and works on his wedges. And you're like, there's this fanatical, I have to be the hardest worker. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it at the best level that you see when the world-class athletes try and take on another sport, and especially a sport as humbling as golf. Because, he was struggling, I remember, when he first started. But from every time I see him and he talks about his game, it's just like he's just down and down and getting more and more. It's amazing.
But it is like I feel that because I played college baseball and a scholarship, and it's like when you play, you play to compete, you play to win. That's the bottom line. And then you ask yourself, well, what can I do to get better? What can I do? Because you don't want to go. Well, listen, every athlete does not want to go out there and make himself look bad because
especially at his own tournament at the Derek Jeter Classic in Vegas.
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna go out there and shoot a low number.
Now, Ben, talk to me about the NBA TV. I love this gig. I mean, you guys are having so much fun, man. I always tell people when you have your dream job like that, from Hollywood to sports to Hollywood, you're having fun, man. I mean, tell me about that.
I got a chance in 2016 to host a show for 2 years with NBA TV and Twitter Sports called The Warm Up. It was half-hour live on Twitter right before the big doubleheader on TNT. And it was in the Atlanta studios, so I'd fly down every week. And my buddy Ro Parrish and Tony Rock got to do the show with those guys and just, really have a lot of fun talking about basketball culture. And now I get to pop in here and there with Turner, and I got a show called GM School coming out with them in June, general manager competition show where we put contestants through different analytics tests and trivia challenges, and they have to sit with the player and diffuse a trade rumor, and we judge them on it. And it was a lot of fun, and we shot it before the pandemic, so that's going to come out in June. And yeah, the NBA, getting to work with the NBA and cover the finals and talk to Steve Smith and Gary Payton and Quentin Richardson and all these guys is just incredible. I'm such a kid in a candy store and such a fan. And you're sitting in the makeup room and there's Isaiah Thomas, Candace Parker, Kristen Ledlow. That's all on the Turner side, and then to come over on the ESPN side and get to hang out with Jalen Rose, it's like it's my childhood come to life. So I will always be a real fan, but I also will be professional, and I have real access, and I have a responsibility to tell stories and create content and have fun. And if I'm not bringing that enthusiasm, if I'm not smiling when I'm out there talking about basketball, then what am I doing?
Well, I met Jalen, and I was like this, how are you? He's like, what's up? But like, I talked to him about the Fab Five.
His golf game's terrible.
Oh,
And
he
he has
is.
a golf
Hey,
tournament
hey,
that's
Jalen.
celebrating its 10th year this year in Detroit, and he's horrendous. So I hope he picks up a club before the 10th annual JRLA this year.
Jalen, I'm gonna cut this out and I'm gonna tweet this part too.
It's
all right.
embarrassing, bro. It's embarrassing. I
As
know he's
athletic as
left-handed, but when you see him swing a golf club, I would swear he's a righty.
well, you got to work. You got to help him out, Ben. Come on now, you got to be
I
a leader.
try, man. I try every year at the tournament. I say, "Are we going to do this when we get back to LA? Come on, we'll go play golf. We'll go get some sushi." Oh yeah, I got you. I do it. And then a year goes by, and he's back at the tournament. I say, "Did you pick up a club this year?" No, I'm gonna do it this year. Da, da, da. Golf is you got to put in the time. You got to put in the work. Jalen could pick up a basketball tomorrow. He could pick up a football and throw it. He could play a kickball tournament. He could play whatever. Golf will humble the best of them.
Oh yeah. Now, all right. So Ben, let's now go back to Hollywood. All right. Oscars. You've been on the red carpet 14 consecutive years, man. Being on
Give or take, give or take. We might have, I don't know if we're truly Joe DiMaggio 56 game hitting streak quite there, but give or take, yeah.
All right. Well, with your meditation with your wife, I think you're gonna break his record.
Yeah.
Because you're a handsome bastard right there. So we get it. I remember you when you were younger. You still look great. But anyway,
thanks, buddy.
Oscars, right? The big day. What time you got to head to the Chinese theater to prepare and all that stuff? Talk to me about that.
I've had all different kind of Oscar experiences over the years. I've been live at 9 in the morning till midnight. I've done hits on top of the rooftop of Ripley's Believe It or Not. We've been at the pool at the Roosevelt Hotel, the lobby at the Roosevelt, the home of the first Academy Awards 92 years ago. But this year, I got to do it for ABC, for the network. I did the after show with Maria Menounos and Stephen A. Smith. So I was actually at a hotel connected to the Dolby Theater there, the Lowe's Hotel. And I watched the Oscars and watched the red carpet from the room, had some room service, looked over my notes one last time, got suited and booted and went down in our production office and actually watched the show, and then got to my position on the carpet to get interviews for people as they left the show. But every year is different. I was on the stage one year when Adam Shankman produced, and I was the official backstage Twitter correspondent. But that's the Super Bowl day. That's an all-day thing. It really starts, honestly, Eddie, the preparation, the Friday night. You have a production meeting Friday night. You sit with the producers you're going to be working with that year. You go over the script. You go over all the films. I've already seen everything several times. Saturday's a rehearsal. You walk through the tech aspect of the show. It's not even really about you as a host at that time. It's really about making sure all the cameras work and the lights and the sound and everything. And then, I really try to shut it down on Saturday night, relax, meditate, a little sauna, a little sound bath, a little meditation, a little, acupuncture. And then I always try on Saturday night to predict what will win Best Picture and then watch that one more time. And then Sunday, just kind of work out and just trying to, de-stress yourself as best you can, because once you get on that carpet, man, that energy is like zing, and you're just on for 7 hours and everyone's like, it's really wild. And it's wild being so comfortable there now, having done it 14, 15 times. Like, I'm comfortable. This is my playground. This is my home. These are my people. I run into friends. I know the rhythms of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really a weird feeling, straight up, bro, to be that comfortable in such an uncomfortable environment.
And you're having so much fun. I love this picture. I can imagine you're just like me. You're talking smack to Spike Lee and say, "Well, look at my kicks, my man. What you right?"
Yeah, we both showed some love to Kobe Bryant this year. He went for the whole suit, which was amazing. But I wore some Mamba shoes as well. And he came up to me first thing he says, "How's your father feeling about Mookie Betts?" And he starts laughing and laughing. And yeah, so it was it's amazing to see him there. And that was just a week or two before he got to the whole back and forth with Dolan. So it's incredible how the world changed.
This
there's Kobe Bean.
I might get emotional here, but Ben, like, when I see this picture and I see his smile and he's with his wife, but I see the father of him. I could see him where he lived in Orange County, wake up in the morning to his wife and 4 girls, and he's just talking smack while he's making eggs for them. And he said, "Yeah, I still got it right." He's probably doing all these moves with the eggs and all that with his hands, and it's like it almost gives me tears because, man, waking up to your kids every morning and and Vanessa, he's not there anymore, and it's like I'm not a father. I have a niece and nephew, but as a parent, especially with the other parents that was on the chopper, that hurts me so much because I can't imagine not waking up next to my best friend that he married, that she married. And
Yeah, it's awful. It's awful. It's we're all never gonna be the same because of it. The city of Los Angeles never gonna be the same. Game of basketball. I mean, Eddie, it's like it's one of those moments in when my father talks about his college football coach didn't cancel practice the day Kennedy was assassinated, and how tone deaf that was at the time, and how my father was so impacted by that. And we think about these moments in life that just shake us and remind us of the things that matter, like our loved ones and our family, and doing the things you love and making every day count. And I don't know, the months now since it's happened, and trying to have perspective and understanding, and even find meaning in the senseless, right?
yeah,
It's that his impact now, his message, his soul's journey is that more powerful and resonates with all of us. My dad, as he's getting older, and he's in his 70s now, and I want to keep him healthy. And I gave him a pair of Kobe shoes for inspiration to try to get him motivated to hit the gym, and he looked to that as a way to kind of take that on. And I don't know if I would have been able to connect with him in that way. And it's just like, yeah, it's how do you find the meaning in the senseless and the meaningless? You can't, but the search for it, the quest, the journey for it is what keeps us going, I guess, on some level.
And it's not just the Kobe Bryant being a basketball player; it's that human side of losing.
Oh, dude, I'll be the first to admit, card carrying member of the Kobe hater club when he came to basketball. I'm a Knick fan. He crushed them in the
Oh
Garden.
yeah, yeah.
If you weren't a Laker fan, I'm a big Laker hater. If you
Oh
weren't a
yeah.
Laker fan, then you had to root against him. You respected him, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I was cheering for him when he was out there. I was rooting for the Spurs. I was rooting for the Nets.
Yeah.
I was rooting for the Celtics. I was rooting for the Magic, and he crushed them all. So
You know, you also was at Kenny Smith's basketball camp, which, well, this is you.
that's yeah. That was the night of the ping pong balls when we could have gotten Zion. But I'm
Right.
happy with R.J. Barrett. He was born the day I graduated high school, so it's destiny. But yeah, that was the
Well,
reaction to Zion.
for you viewers to know, Ben Lyons, I know him very well. He's a diehard Knicks fan, and this is the reaction of him every year.
Yeah.
Not just
But first time in my lifetime, I got all the draft picks moving forward, so I feel good about that.
That's true. All right, so
And then some as well.
talk to me about this, Kenny Smith. I love him. I just interviewed Kenny Anderson last night. And,
Chibs.
Oh, Kenny. Yeah, Chibs. Monday night actually, and he told me that what Kenny Smith said, that when he was a senior in high school, when Kenny Smith was a senior in high school, he would watch little Kenny Anderson in 7th grade. And Kenny Smith was saying, I'm an All-American senior right now, and I'm learning moves from that little 7th grader down there.
Archbishop Malloy in Queens, incredible basketball factory. Also, Roz Golden-Wude, who covers the NBA, she went to Archbishop Malloy as well. But yeah, I had a chance to get to know Kenny from working with Turner, and he does a basketball camp every year at University of North Carolina. And my second year at Turner, I came back from the summer and I was like, yo, I would have coached at camp. And he was like, would you? All right, sure. And then all year, are you coming to camp? Are you coming to camp? All year, are you coming to camp? I said, yo, Kenny, I'm coming to camp. Okay. And then sure enough, I lived for a week down in University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. I had a team of 12-year-olds. We made it to the championship game. I had one rule on my team. We built a culture. If you want to play tomorrow, you got to take a shower today, because these little kids were not showering. You know how summer basketball camp goes. So, no, it was a blast, man. I loved going to camps when I was a kid, and to get to be around Kenny and his brother Vince and his son, who's now going to be a senior at the University of North Carolina, KJ, who plays for the team. And it was really cool, and I love coaching, and it's something that I definitely want to do when I hope to have kids someday myself, but also just later in life. I could see myself retiring to Santa Barbara and coaching high school basketball. It was really fun to be there and to be on that campus too, and to be, on the court every day and playing the counselor games at night. And on the same floor where MJ and James Worthy and all the legends. Like, it was amazing.
God, yeah. You know what's
But for a week though, the dorms, the Dean Dome, and the cafeteria, that's it. I didn't go to the top of the hill. I wasn't at the bars. I didn't go to any of it. I was just in full-on coach mode. It was really intense.
Oh, so were you like Pat Riley in that zone right there? Like, you're all about winning it, right?
Absolutely, yeah. But I didn't fax my resignation, unlike that coward when he left the Knicks.
Oh, right, exactly. Hey, but you know what? The reason why people tell me I look great in the suit, because I would watch him in the 80s, how the way he would dress up, you know what I mean? Slick back the hair, and,
in the 2020s, in The Last Dance, he looked amazing in the white linen.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
His gray hair's fine with me. My man looks great,
Yeah, what an incredible life and career. Great book, too, The Winner Within by Pat Riley.
Now, I want to show how much fun you guys have at the Oscars. Now, check this out. Danny A is right here. Watch this. I'm going to show a video clip, all right? The Oscars this past year, which was what? We're in May, 2 months ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of big celebrities here at the Oscars. A lot of big celebrities here at the Oscars.
What's up, baby?
Yeah, what's up, bro?
Killing in Blackjack.
Oh, that's the next movie. That's next year's Oscars, bro.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I asked Danny A, how were you on set? And he says, man, he killed it. And he could shoot, man. He could play. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Because I played against him. Remember one time you were just banking threes off me? I'm like, damn, I can't hang with Ben.
Yeah. Danny's the best, man. What a character. It was so awesome to see him at the Oscars there with the Irishman, and then to be a small, very, very small part of this movie Blackjack was really cool. I played Rick Carlisle. Michael Rappaport played Bill Fitch. And it's the story of this street ball legend in New York City. And Danny's crazy enough to get it made and shoot it, and it's going to come out soon. And I don't know, every time I see him, he's like, bro, you were amazing in the movie, bro. So we'll see.
You know what he told me? He goes, hey, Eddie, you come to LA, you come to my house, we're playing. I'm like, oh, we can play sports.
He's got legendary games at his house, man. Gary Shandling used to have the great games at his house back in the day. You hear, stories of these legendary Hollywood pickup games, and I've been in a few of them at Danny's house, and the dude can ball, man. All the vaping and the nightclubs and the Israeli hummus, you can still put up 20 and 10. I don't get it.
Yeah. Hey, and another thing is that my friend, you probably know him. He's on KTLA 5. Is that what it's called in LA? Mark Mester. They had a 3-on-3 tournament. Marcellus Riley, you, and Mark. And all of a sudden, they're trying to shoot threes and they can't hang. And then Mark's like, yo, this guy's shooting threes like it's nothing, man. You're just popping them,
Yo, it's funny, man, playing basketball out here in LA, just like the golf scene or, it's obviously like the Hollywood basketball scene. It's his thing. And I've played with Jaleel White a bunch of times. I've played with in a game that had Brandon Routh on one team and Dean Cain on the other team. So it's 2 Supermans in one game. I was on a rec league team with Terrell Owens for a season. And like the first 2 weeks, it sounded cool. But then by week 5, you were like, man, this guy sucks.
Right.
And
Ben, who'd you school? What celebrity did you school in basketball? Whether they're a basketball player or a actor.
He won't remember this. He's definitely better than me. There is video footage of it out there, but I caught J. Cole one time in like a little corner over, crossover, step back 3, and they called the timeout, and he was like, "Yo, that was kind of nice." And then me and Dave McMenamin from ESPN, we always go back at it in these celebrity games. I always give him the business, so it's fun, man. Jerry Ferrara, Jerry's like as intense as it comes. When Jerry's on the court, it usually ends in people fighting for money or one-on-one for money or people losing their pink slips in their cars, and so I don't do all that.
Well, that's like Ruckus Park, you know what I mean? You got to bring your hustle.
Ruckus Park or Rucker Park, a little bit of both.
Right, Ruckus. Did I say it wrong? Ruckus or Rucker?
Ruckus Park, a ruckus at the Rucker. I like
right. Okay, I'll make it sure. I don't want to make any mistakes now.
I remember it takes me back to being an intern at the William Morris agency, and I was sitting on the desk of an agent, and he was on a call with a producer because they were trying to make a movie about the Rucker. And he kept calling it Rutgers. and I very politely tried to interrupt. It's Rucker Park. Hung up the phone, took his phone, threw it at me, screamed, "You're the biggest moron in my life at this time." And you got to understand, back then, all these guys grew up idolizing Harvey Weinstein. They watched the movie Swimming with Sharks one too many times, and they thought that's the way you got ahead in Hollywood. And for a long time, it was. And thankfully, we live in a much different era now where that kind of behavior doesn't fly. But yeah, I'll always think of that anytime somebody mispronounces the Rucker.
Now, here's the thing. Being a Red Sox fan, well, you're a Dodgers fan too, but I'm just saying.
But I root for food and shelter, so yes, a Red Sox fan.
Right, exactly. So here's the thing. You know, you're getting interviewed by my boy Nick Swisher, and all of a sudden, I see this wearing wearing. Hold on, Ben. I cannot wear Big Papi jersey or shirt if I had to interview Big Papi. I would have to fight him.
Yeah, but if you play golf with Big Papi and hang out with his kids and are friends with Big Papi's wife, and Big Papi always showed love to your dad, and you've known him for 10 years, then yeah, you show love for number 33. That's my man. I love Nick Swisher. His energy reminds me of yours. Every time I see him, it's just positive and love. And that dude was a very solid, right fielder for the Yankees and the Indians, and then with the Braves, even with the A's. Had a great career, probably hit over 200 home runs or so.
Which hitter?
Had a solid career, won a World Series. Remember him hitting a big home run against the Cubs at Wrigley Field on Sunday Night Baseball, and had a great career. I think Nick's going to do even better after basketball. He has so much to give. He's got such a heart. I think I call him, Dr. Swish, and I think he could be like a real relationship therapist, or help motivate young people to get their lives together. Like he's just got it. We always talk in Hollywood about the it factor, and Swish has it. So I'm gonna rock his jersey forever.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, you know what? Maybe I could wear Big Papi, but God, man, he beat my boys in 04. I can't.
Hey, man, that Dave Roberts will forever be a name that is held in high regard in the Lyons family.
You know what?
I'll say that much.
I wanted to call FS1, like, yo, can you stop playing this shit on TV? Because it's breaking my pulmonary artery right now. Up 3-0, and all of a sudden we lose. Oh, my God. So now back to Hollywood. Stephen A. Smith actually joined you for the post interviews at the Oscars. Now, I want to show you. Look how much fun, viewers, look how much fun Ben and Stephen A. Smith is having right here. Watch this.
Academy Awards are done. Hey, Stephen A., first Academy Awards. How was it, man?
Lovely. I had a ball. I appreciate your help, because I'll be damned if I knew anything. This man helped me immensely. So thank him and Maria, because they saved me tonight.
Ben.
I got to be honest. I liked Parasite, but you had them in the house. You had them outside the house. That's what you saw. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Leonardo DiCaprio. Are you kidding me? Brad Pitt, Quentin Tarantino. Give him the Oscar.
But Ben, the preparation, was he like a puppy on the red carpet? Like, yo, Ben, tell me about this person. Tell me about this person. Come on now. I mean, it's a huge.
It all came together really last minute. I remember sitting down at table read Saturday night, going through the different movies, the categories, and I think he really felt the magnitude of the moment while we were watching the show. And each, the storylines were unfolding, and each award was going out, and people were making their speeches and stuff, and he really rose to the occasion. It was fun for him to be there. He understood that it was a new challenge for him, and I think after the show, he was like, "Oh, okay. I see what you guys do. I see this Hollywood game. Like I can, and it was fun, man. It made the Oscars different for me in a weird way because of Kobe this year. It was fitting to have him there and comforting, and told stories about Kobe and stuff. And Maria's a huge sports fan, so she was going at it with him about the Celtics.
She loves the Patriots, right?
Yeah, she's all in on everything Boston. So it was cool to be with him at that time, because I feel like he's having a moment in culture. You see what makes him great. Live, the preparation, the energy, and it's another one of the all-time greats that I've gotten a chance to work with, and I'm really grateful for it.
Ben, let me tell you something right now. What you're doing, and you're so genuine, and that's why these people love you.
Thanks, Eddie. Keep telling them, Eddie.
Yeah, well, exactly, man.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you, man.
Well, of course. I mean, but what you're doing is like, I still look. I have XM radio. When you were on there, I would listen to you from 5 to 6, whatever it was the time, on Mad Dog.
Yeah,
Wherever
yeah.
you would
But
go.
that's the thing, man. Is I've learned from having all these opportunities over the years that one thing leads to the next. You just try to surround yourself with good people, show love where you can, try to find the great stories to shine a light on and tell, whether that's as a reporter, on air, as a producer, behind the scenes. And, now we live in a world where there are 10-hour documentaries and there are 15-second TikToks and there are 10-minute Quibi episodes and half-hour 5 seasons of television. Like there's so many different ways to slice and dice a story that you really just try to find the best way to tell it and tell it with the best people possible, and that's how I try to navigate all this.
Well, you are a great storyteller. I'll give you that. I mean, I love how specific you are, and that's the way it should be. Like the way I'm specific with you right now. I want details, and you notice I just want positive stuff. I don't want to talk about negativity. I protect athletes. I protect actors. But if they want to open up to me what they did in the past, like Darryl Strawberry did, and I was like, okay, he's encouraging people that, hey, I used to have a bad past, but nobody knew me as a human. They only saw me as the guy in a baseball uniform.
Yeah, man, I'm rooting for Darryl, man. He's a huge inspiration for so many of us sports fans coming up from New York in the '80s, and obviously he's been through so much, and you just hope that he's able to stay on a positive path. And I feel a kind of connection to him because when I was young, I moved out here to Los Angeles trying to tell his story. I wanted to make a Dwight and Darryl movie. I had some great partners. We had momentum on it. And finally, it got to Major League Baseball, and they were like, absolutely not. No way are we going to have the logos and the footage and all the crazy stuff those dudes were doing in the movie because they were boogie nights with baseball. I mean, it's insane when you look back at the stories of those '80s Mets. And it's funny. I was thinking about this the other day. They didn't have a truly dominant era. They didn't have a long run. They were really at the height of their powers from like '85 to '88, and that's about it. They didn't win multiple World Series like the Big Red Machine or the Yankees teams of the '90s. But if you had like to unlock the highest potential of what it means to be a great all-time baseball team, that collection of misfits in '86 has to be at just the peak of at least the top of the baseball mountain, right there with the Big Red Machine and the 27 Yankees and all the great teams.
Absolutely. So, Ben, before we go, this is what I want you to do. I'm going to ask you a question. Do you know who Eddie Mata is? And you're going to be like, who the hell is Eddie Mata? Just like that, right? I'm going to cue up right here. Hey, Ben, have you ever heard of this guy named Eddie Mata?
Eddie Mata? Who the hell is Eddie Mata?
You nailed it, baby. You nailed it right there.
And one take like Sinatra on the Manchurian Candidate. That's me. Hey, what's up? This is Ben Lyons. You got to subscribe to Eddie Mata's channels. This dude is bringing great stories. People from Hollywood, sports. Follow him on Instagram, Twitter. Subscribe to Eddie Mata's YouTube channel. I love this dude. He's New York. He's Hollywood. He's everywhere. Sports. That's my man. Shout out to Eddie Mata.